Hey everybody, welcome to the 5051 podcast, episode 4. We are here today to talk about the Gmat algorithm, the Gmat scoring algorithm, which I'm excited to talk about because it's an exciting, controversial, fun topic. And there's also a lot of information about the algorithm that's incorrect. A lot of, I believe, to be intentional misinformation from Gmat, and then also just well-intentioned false facts that are spread by well-intentioned test takers. So anyway, let's start from the beginning. Do the questions at the beginning matter more in the Gmat? Yes, absolutely, without a doubt. You can debate the semantics of it all you want. The fact is, a question in the first quarter of the test is going to have a larger impact on your score than a question at the end of the test. I get a kick out of Gmat's response to these Gmat quote unquote myths. I think in the official guide it says something like, myth, the first 10 questions count the most. And then it says, fact, all questions count. As if that's somehow addressing the actual quote unquote myth, which is that the first 10 questions count the most. The reason why Gmat, of course, has obfuscated and has not addressed this question directly, of course, is because, yes, the first 10 questions do count the most. This is especially true on Quant. Quant is heavily front-loaded. Quick example, I had a student one time who answered every question wrong in the fourth quarter of her Quant test and still scored an impressive Quant 46. I don't even think she had a perfect quarter in the first 3 quarters. She was just very solid through the first 3 quarters. Then got all 7 wrong, which is really kind of part of the plan. We had sort of shortened the test by design to help get her over 700. Her verbal was strong. So it was not a surprise, maybe some bad luck to get all 7 wrong. But anyway, you can't do that on verbal. You can get all 7 wrong, the last 7 wrong on Quant, and still somehow get a pretty good score as long as you make sure to answer all the questions. That's an important caveat. Gmat makes sure to specify in the official guide that if you don't answer all the questions, there is a significant penalty. The rumor is that could be up to 30 points on your total score. So, of course, make sure, even if you're just guessing, make sure you give yourself time to guess through at the end if you run out of time, which is pretty common on Gmat Quant. By the way, this also does apply to Gmat Verbal. Questions at the beginning, first half or so, in particular the first quarter of Gmat Verbal questions, the first 15 or so verbal questions do count more than the last 15 questions. I've noted this definitively from my studies of hundreds of ESRs over the years since they've been released. But it's not as severely front-loaded. It's not as lopsided, so to speak, as the Quant section, especially at the high end of scores, which is where most of my students live, my private students. Your verbal score is a direct reflection of how many questions you answer correctly. It doesn't really matter where those questions show up. If you're only getting 4 or 5 questions wrong or fewer, your score is highly predictable. So on verbal, it's very important. You can't take that same strategy. You need to make sure you go at a pace where you have time to answer all the questions. You don't want to leave questions on the table on verbal in the same way that you can on Quant. That's about it. I guess the last part I would say is, be careful who you trust on this issue. Like I said, there's a lot of misinformation. I guess that's true of the Gmat in general. And that's true. That's not true. That's the reason why this podcast exists, I guess, is the opportunity to share some of this information freely and in conversational form. So anyway, that's all for today. Have a great one. I will see you on Monday. Bye.